Hi everyone. Today I want to continue on my Masaki Kobayashi film journey through the 11 films that are available, all streaming on the Criterion Channel 7 are available in physical release. Today I want to get to a movie called The Inheritance, and this is from 1962. And I'm skipping over, my last video was on Black River. I'm skipping over that the human condition, the 9 hours of the human condition, and I'm going to The Inheritance, which is the fourth film of a eclipse that the Criterion released several years ago. And this is a film that I am going to have to heavily rely upon Stephen Prince's A Dream of Resistance to make some sense out of, because it's a very it's a film that's so chilling and so bleak, I guess would be the word, bleak view of human beings. It's really a monster movie. It's a story of demons. It's a combat film, but it's done in contemporary times, 1962 times, as a wealthy man learns he has cancer. He's dying. He doesn't have much longer to live. He wants to find his three illegitimate children. He has lost track of them. He sends out emissaries to go and find them. He's very rich. He's got lots of money, and everybody, I mean everybody, creates a web of lies and mendacity, and their lives are transformed by the money involved with this. They become monsters, and it's kind of a. And it's not even kind of, because Akira Kurosawa's Akira is explicitly referenced in the movie. Akira, also a film about a man who learns he's going to die, but he's a low-level bureaucrat, and he tries to transform his life, have one heroic act where he gets a park approved for the children that live in this shanty town in the poor part of Tokyo. Whereas Kurosawa is a romantic, a sentimentalist. He believes that a person can transform his life through this, through one act. And it could be said, I think, Akira is a great film, and I love the film, but Kurosawa can be like a moral preacher in some of his films. Very much he's romantic. Kobayashi is exactly the opposite. He sees things with detachment. He makes no judgment on any of these people, and they're all monsters, and they do monstrous things. But yet they kind of like luxuriate in sin. They bring an evil. The evil is so extensive it almost becomes like a social norm. This is the way people are, and no doubt. And even though this has nothing to do with World War II, and probably in Kobayashi's view of life, his experiences and the evils that were brought to the surface, and the demons brought to the surface in the behavior of Japanese soldiers, that this is a war film in that sense. And I mentioned Akira, and there's kind of like a funny little reference to it where the wealthy man goes to his doctors, and in that time of history in Japan, and probably even the United States, you didn't tell the cancer victim, that you have no chance, that you're gonna, and he tries to, tell me the truth, which is a scene that's also in Akira, and one of the doctor's names is Shimura, who played the actor who played the dying man in Akira. So, and in his book A Dream of Resistance, Stephen Prince calls on often on a philosopher theologian by the name of Paul Tillich, and Tillich he had served as a chaplain in World War I. He saw all the horrors of war, just as Kobayashi had, and no doubt was heavily influenced by those experiences. And he was a very popular writer in the 1950s. He was German. He came to the U.S. in 1933 after Hitler came to power and became a very prominent intellectual, but he wrote popular books that were no doubt translated into Japanese. I'm a little vague as to how much Kobayashi may or may not have been exposed to Tillich's ideas, but they certainly correlate a lot with Kobayashi's films, and especially this film. And according to Prince, the next three, and especially you could call this movie demons. It's like Dostoevsky's demons. And I'll just take a couple quotes of what Tillage means by the demonic, that it was a perversion of the creative, and that it manifests itself at both at individual and social levels, and that there's a kind of dialectic, two sides to this demon. The demons comes to fulfillment in personality, and personality is the most prominent object of demonic destruction. So, in other words, what we're seeing here is how our lives can be perverted by these, our personalities can be perverted by these demons that are within us, and certainly Tillage and Kobayashi recognize the evil that can exist within human beings. They've seen it manifested in their lives. But enough with philosophy and theology here. Let's go to one of the other interesting facets of The Inheritance, in that this is the first film that Kobayashi makes with his new composer, Tora Takamatsu, who would now score all of Kobayashi's remaining films. And he was very much a minimalist. Now, Kobayashi was working with, his mentor had been Kinoshita, Kisuke Kinoshita, in his early days when he was interning at Soshiko Studios. And his brother, Kinoshita's brother, had scored, I think, all the films through The Human Condition. But they were conventional scores. They could be very melodramatic. There was a lot of music. In fact, one of the faults I might have noticed in Black River, a film I think is one of Kobayashi's great films, is he uses a lead motif, and he uses it over and over. It's like an insistent lead motif, and Takamatsu is exactly the opposite. He's a minimalist, and this suited Kobayashi. He thought that he had too much music in his movies, and Takamatsu worked with almost all the great of the Japanese New Wave directors. And the other aspect of The Inheritance is Kobayashi's use of the widescreen Panavision 2:3:5:1 scope aspect ratio. It's just masterly the way he places his actors, where he puts them here and there. And unlike Black River, where there was charismatic performances, these are not. These are flattened kind of performances here. And we even have Tatsuya Nakadai, who was in all of, I think all of the films from Black Rain on of Kobayashi. And he had just been in Kurosawa's Yojimbo, but The Human Condition, he plays the lead in Human Condition, became a movie that made him a big star, and Yojimbo was increased its popularity. And here is Nakadai being introduced in a widescreen shot of people sitting around in a living room, with the dying man in the foreground, and here's Nakadai out in the corner. His charisma is totally and perversely muted in this film, even though he's very good. He's very good playing a demon, but a demon that looks like everybody else. So that's The Inheritance, 1962. Again, it was a film, all these films up to now I've watched twice in order to get some sort of sense of having something to say. I just couldn't bring myself to watch this a second time, and not that it isn't a good movie, You know, maybe in a year or two I'd be able to get through it again, but it really is, it's so chilling and horrifying. If you've ever seen, I referenced Macbeth in Black Rain, and even though the storylines are not, but the exhilaration. And this is more like Titus Andronicus, Shakespeare's Titus Andronicus, if you've ever seen that. It's just, it's so horrifying. You wonder, what the heck was Shakespeare thinking? It's almost, and yet they're in the midst of, you know, cannibalism and the bloodiest revenge scenes you could ever imagine in the theater. I think it's the most horrifying thing I've ever seen, a live performance of Titus Andronicus. This isn't quite to that level, but it certainly is in the ballpark. So that'll be it for 1962 in the Inheritance. Next one will be Harakiri, which is, some people think is Kobayashi's masterpiece. Until then, you guys take care. Comments will be welcome, and I will catch you next time. Let's see. Let us see how he did.